Hello everyone out there in YouTube land, this is Iron Gut once again, coming at you with another tutorial. So, this is a tutorial that I have been requested to make and then pushed to make, but that's okay, it's a tutorial I was going to make anyways because Source Filmmaker is stupid. Okay, maybe not stupid, but it is very, very awkward and very difficult. I don't blame myself at all for procrastinating on figuring out how to export Blender models into Source Filmmaker for 5 years, but I did. But I have since figured it out, and I have been able to export Blender models and pack them for Source Filmmaker successfully, so I am going to teach you the basics of how to do it from start to finish and the things that you are going to get hung up on. So, one of the things that makes this process stupid is that it is a process that is not just, oh, push a button and export like you would in Blender to export an FBX or to Miku Miku Dance or to, or VR chat. You just, I just drag the FBX right in. There you go. Hey, it's good. It's there. There's the model. No, it is very stupid, and you're going to need multiple programs in order to do this process. The first is an add-on for Blender called Blender Source Tools. Very, very simple. This is going to be downloadable on GitHub as github.com/artfunkle with just a K /Blender Source Tools. You can easily find it by just Googling it, add this in to Blender, and then you'll be good to go in Blender. Second thing you're going to need, and I'll get into explaining it later, is VTFEdit. This is a tool that you use to convert the textures from just regular PNG files into VMT files, or rather VTF files, because Source Filmmaker is dumb. And apparently you can't just, I'm just going to drag and drop an image in. No. It's got to be a specific setup that this program specifically converts into. It's stupid. Either way, you get it by just Googling it, or you can go to valvedev.info/tools/VTFEdit. That is where you download this program, and we'll get into how to use it later on. The third program you're going to need is Crowbar. This is an old school program, but it's lasted, it works. Anyways, you can Google it, just look it up. It's fairly easy to find, or you can go to github.com once again /ZEQMACAW/Crowbar. You can download it that way. We'll get into how to use it later on. So, with that all said and done, allow me to introduce you to who we're going to be porting today. Say hi to Steel. He's a chumby little dragon robot that I have had as an OC for a little while. I recently created this model for him, and we're going to port him for Source Filmmaker. So, in Blender, there are a few things that we need to do to get him set up. So let's go ahead over to the modeling tab and see what we need to do. First things first. I've already set him up for Source Filmmaker, and I'll go over right now what you need to do. The first thing you need to do and know is that Source Filmmaker, as far as I'm aware, does not like modifiers. So you need to take all the modifiers off. If you've got mirror modifiers or subdivision surfaces, things of that nature, all of your meshes need to have them removed. Only armatures should stay on your model. That is thing number one. Thing number two, make sure that all of your things, be they meshes, objects, bone names, blend shape names, everything has to have a unique name. Source is very, very stupid about this. The way Source works is it doesn't distinguish things. If you have, for example, a bone named head and you have an object named head, it will not distinguish between the two because it has no way of knowing which is the mesh and which is the bone. So you need to individually name things. Like if you have a head bone named head, you are going to name your mesh head geo or head mesh or something to distinguish it, because otherwise it will not work correctly. Same thing with all of these blend shapes. you need to have differently named blend shapes, not just from the bones, the mesh, but also from each other. So if you have a body with blend shapes on it, like this one here, you need to make sure that they have unique names between each other. If they have the same name on any two meshes, it will not work. So you need to have, one technique that I like to do is I like to put the mesh name in front of the blend shape name on the blend shapes on that mesh. It's stupid, it takes a while, and it's very easy to miss stuff, but you need to do it. Oh, also, no spaces. Do not use spaces in the names for anything, be it blend shapes, mesh names, anything. Do not use spaces. Use dots or dashes if you need to. Source Filmmaker does not like spaces. It's stupid that way. Anyways, all that having been said, now, what you're going to do is, if you have a model that has multiple pieces like this, you don't need to worry about combining them. Source Filmmaker can handle submeshes. However, if you want them to be able to toggle, for example, Steel here has two different body types. His body here, this is the rubber belly version. If I turn that off, I can also turn on the single body version. If I want to be able to toggle between those on Source Filmmaker, I need to have them be part of separate collections, as I have done here. This one is silicone belly, this one is the rubber belly. Just have them in separate collections. Don't worry about having the armature in a different collection. So long as things are set up and working with the actual armature modifier, it'll all work out fine. So, that said, I believe that's everything I needed to cover in terms of model setup in Blender. Yeah, I don't feel like I'm forgetting anything. So, we're going to move on to the actual export process now. So step one in terms of exporting is we install Blender source tools in Blender. I've already done that clearly. Where you'll find the export tools here is in the scene menu. When you're in the scene properties, go down here to a new tab called Source Engine Export. In here, there are a couple things you need to worry about. First off, the export path. You're going to click on that folder, choose your export path. I've already done it here. It's my external drive E/ZZZtemp/converting box, which is this folder right here. As you can see, I've already got the, well, if I refresh it, that is, you'll see I have the blend file already saved in here, along with his 3 textures that he uses. We'll get into the texture files in just a second. But yeah, this is the folder that he's going to be in, and thus it's also going to be the export path. We're going to have our export format be DMX because that's the easier one to work with. Our target axis is set to Z, which is regular, your regular up axis. That's totally fine. Weight link cull threshold. This is an important one. Now, the way that Source Filmmaker works is it has a very stupid restriction on it, I think. Any vertex cannot be weight painted to more than 3 bones. So if you have an object, a mesh that has a vertex that's like being affected 1/4 by one bone, 1/4 by another bone, 1/4 by another bone, and 1/4 by a fourth, well, that's not going to work. You need to actually have that reduced somehow to 3 weight painted elements only. It's very stupid, but that's what the weight link cull threshold is for. This setting here, automatically detects when a vertex is painted to something by less than however much percentage you set. In this case, I've set it to 25%, and it just disregards it. So it only keeps the weight paintings if it's weight painted by 25% or more, in this case, as I've set it to 0.25. So that helps with getting the vertexes painted to less than 3 bones per. with that, that's pretty much all you really need to set up. Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and hit the export button here, and we're going to do a scene export. That way it'll export all three of these collections as files. So now when we go back to Converting Box, you will see we have the body.dmx, the rubberbelly.dmx, and the siliconebelly.dmx. Those DMX files are the files that we are later going to combine into the source Filmmaker model. Now, the next thing we need to set up are the textures. As you can see, I've already got the 3 textures here that I need. So we're going to open up VTFEdit. This is VTFEdit. It's got a lot of options and a lot of things in order for, adjusting VTFs and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't use them at all. I do all my texture stuff in Photoshop because I'm a Photoshop guy. Photoshop, always. And by the way, I use a very old version that I only had to buy once. Screw subscription models. Anyways, VTFEdit, luckily, is free. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Tools and Convert Folder here. This is just going to mass convert all of those PNGs in that folder to VTF files. VTF stands for Valve Texture File. VMT files are a similar thing that's called Valve Material. VMT, Valve Material. And if you know anything about, well, of course you know about the differences between textures and materials. That's the difference. VTFs are the texture files. That's what your PNGs are. Material files, the VMTs, are what actually handle things like lighting and, your materials. Why am I explaining this to you? You know what it is. Anyways, pick your input folder, pick your output folder. I've got them set to Converting Box. Hit the Convert button. It'll automatically convert all of these PNGs into VTFs. So now that's done, you'll see I have 3 new VTF files here. Steelized base, that's that one. Steelized background, that's that one. Steel texture, that's that one. That's all good. We're all done. Close, close. We don't need VTFEdit anymore. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to head to Crowbar. This is where we're actually going to combine the model files that we just exported into the actual thing that Source Filmmaker can read. However, not yet, because there's another stupid thing that we need to do. We actually need to... what Source Filmmaker essentially does is it takes all of the things that, you know how in a blend file, like here, it takes care of having everything packed into the one blend file? It's like, oh, the materials are already here in the blend file. They're already part of it. I don't have to worry about that. The armature is here in the blend file. I don't have to worry about it. It knows what the armature is, what the object property is, blah, blah, blah. It's all just here. You just open the file. Well, Valve and Source Filmmaker don't work that way. Things are split up into multiple files. And 2 of the files that you're going to need, of course, are a base, which is the QC file. I don't know what QC stands for, but this is where the actual thing of wrangling all of the different model files is going to be, and that's dumb by itself. But then also your VMT files, which are going to be the materials. You need to define those as well. It's all stupid. Anyways, I've got template files that I use that I just plug things into for simplicity's sake. So, in the Converting Box here, I remember I've got the different materials that I've got here in Blender. Let's go to the Blender file and look at the materials list. I've got, dot stroke we can ignore. I've got eyes, metallic, pupils, rubber, and silicone. Okay, so those are the different VMTs that I need to make, and I need to make them manually. Or at least I make them manually because I do not know how to use VTFEdit or Source Exporter or Blender Source Tools to export the VMT files. And so I just don't bother. Especially when I've grown up with a programming background in terms of JavaScript, and so looking at a notepad texture like this, totally fine. Anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to set up these VMT files now. All you need to really do, once you've got this set up to make the most basic materials, is remember that the bump map is your normal map. In this case, Steel doesn't use any normal maps at all, so we don't need to worry about that. And the base texture. The base texture, of course, is going to be your main textures. In this case, and here's where you need to do a little bit of planning in figuring out your folder structure. A lot of source Filmmaker models that you will download will be placed into like subfolder categories and such. Yeah, so let's just go Iron Gut / Steel and end right there with what's the first material we're going to make? Silicone. Oh wait, we're not naming it based off of the material here. We're naming it based off of the VTF files. In this case, no, I didn't mean to double click. I meant to slow double click so that I can copy. This base material is going to use Steel Texture as its actual texture file. We do not need to put the end of the VTF name in there because, again, Source Filmmaker doesn't... it's dumb, and this is, again, everything has to be a unique name, and this is why. Because it doesn't distinguish what files are what. It just distinguishes them based off of the name, and that's it. So, the base material here we're going to save instead as silicone.vmt. And I also know that my rubber is the same way. I've set this model up very simply. So save that as rubber.vmt because it uses the same base texture. Save as metallic. Now, actually, for metallic, I want to change the font, but that's, you know what, I'm not going to get into that right now. I'll leave that for later on. That's material editing, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just showing you how to set up the materials. So those are the three things that use the Steel Texture. The eye materials now. So eyes, we're going to use Steel Eyes background. Eyes BG. Whoop, not enter. And this is going to be it's eyes.vmt. Then we've got Steel Eyes -base, and that'll be the pupils material. Pupils.vmt. That's all we need for the VMT files. That's all of our materials. And they're in here. We can just copy them right back up to the converting box for now. And then the QC file. The QC file here is where we define what those collections are. Those, yeah. We need to remake the collections in these QC files. So the body group here of Silicone Belly will use siliconebelly.dmx. We're going to copy the body group again and paste it. And then we've got body, which is going to use body. Not boy, body. So body.dmx. Paste another material, another body group. And this one's going to be rubber belly. and it'll use rubberbelly.dmx. We are also going to, oh yes, actually, we don't need to make this body group because this is the main body group which has the armature in it. That goes right here. Body and body. That's where the model goes. That goes under this $model group. All these other body groups are just the other things that are going to be toggleable. Okay, we put the models under iron gut / steel / now we just figure out what we want to name the model file. Steel.mdl. And right here we do the materials folder will be iron gut / steel. And the idle, this is steel.dmx. And I believe that should be all we need. So now we save this as, and go back to converting box. We're going to call this steel.qc. And I believe we are, whoop, I messed that up. There we go. Iron gut / steel / steel.mdl models / iron gut / steel. Alright. Save. And then we don't need that anymore. Let's go ahead back to the converting box. And now, you notice that I've got in here a shortcut. This is the shortcut to the user mod folder. This folder is where we're going to put the actual VMT files. So this folder here, sorry, one second. This is under your Steam Apps, Common, Source Filmmaker, Game, User Mod. Yeah, basically you can find this folder in your program files. Program files, Steam Apps, Common, Source Filmmaker, Game, User Mod. And then you're going to go here. You see you've got your materials folder and your models folder. This is what you actually put the things into. So we're going to go into the materials folder here because this is what we're putting in. Materials / models. And then we're going to create the folder structure. Iron gut, because that's what we said before. And then another one, steel, because that's what we defined. And we're going to paste the models VTF files into there. And also, just for good measure, we're going to put the VMT files that we've made in there as well. I forget if, yeah, no, we need to put the VMT files in there as well. So there you go. All your VMTs and all your VTFs are going to be where you said they are in the QC file. So now we're going to go back to converting box, and we actually don't need to go to converting box because we need to go to Crowbar. So here's Crowbar. This is where it gets a little bit dumb, but we're also in the home stretch. Everything should be set up and ready to compile. In Crowbar, we go to the Compile tab right here, browse to actually find the QC file, steel.qc, and if you've set up everything correctly, it's going to create an output subfolder here, subfolder of QC input. You can name it whatever you like. I just call it compile.68d. I forget why 68d. It doesn't really matter. No P4, verbose, blah, blah, blah. Game that has the model compiler, Source Filmmaker. Compile. And compiling finished. Let's see. Compiling with Crowbar. Yeah, finished. Should be all. Oh, wait. Deleted empty folder. Aborting process. Hang on. Error. Could not load steel.dmx. Why didn't it? Oh, because I'm not using steel.dmx. I'm using body.dmx, right? Yeah, body.dmx. Okay. This is why it's stupid that you need to, wait. Why is it trying to load steel.dmx? Where's, oh, I'm stupid. Okay. Body.dmx there. Got it. Got it. Okay. You can see how this is stupid. How everything has to be just right and it all has to be done manually. Compile. There we go. Now this compile is working. Okay. The compile is done. Let's use this in view to check and make sure that it's working. And view as replacement. And it's going to pull up a window that's going to preview what it looks like. So let's let it load the viewer. Come on. Come on, you big boy. There we go. So now it's loaded this guy, and its rotation is stupid. Yeah, it's loaded the basis. We go to models here. Yes, I know you're there, Discord overlay. Go away. And you can see the submodels here of the silicone belly or the rubber belly. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah. That all exported very nicely. And yeah, he's not posed the same way as in Blender, because in Blender I just had his pose mode enabled to stand upright. This model I made so that he can stand upright or be on all fours just as easily. In pose mode he stands upright. In neutral mode he's leaned forward like this. Not that important. Just make sure that your pose mode is set to rest pose the way you want it. But yeah, this is now a confirmed good model. You can check here the different flexes that there are. For example, what do we have? Mouth smile here. So let's take a look when we turn that up. He's smiling now. All these other, flexes, which are the blend shapes, all set. So we've got a successful port here. And all we need to do now is go back to the compiled here. And this is models / iron gut / steel. This VTX, MDL, and VVD. We copy those again into where the materials were, except not under the materials, but in models here. So we take this, new folder, iron gut / steel / drop it into that folder, and then you'll be able to open it up in Source Filmmaker. You're all done. You've successfully learned how to port a model into Source Filmmaker. It's annoying. It is very, very annoying. But that's how you do it. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. This has been apparently less than a half an hour. So, good deal. There are further things that you can do, of course. For example, making materials with an emission on them, or changing the Fong value, which the Fong is essentially the shininess of a material. It's what in Blender would be called roughness. Except it's not exactly. It's a bit different. But yeah, those VMT files are where you would go to actually see all the stuff. There's a lot of documentation online. It's not particularly easy to follow, but it's also not that hard. Mess around with values, see what pops out. You'll figure it out. Thanks very much for listening, guys, and watching, and I will see you guys another time. And oh yeah, these template files, I'll pull them up right here for you again so that you can see just what the basic template needs. You don't need that much more than this. It is a model name, model, body group, ambient boost, mostly opaque, eyes position, max eyes deflection, blah 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 blah. Seeding materials, that's the materials directory. Sequence idle, that's your idle animation. Just have your templates set up like that, and your base materials of vertex lit generic looks like this. These are the default values that I use for everything. And, yeah. Thanks a bunch for watching. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. And or next video. Or next stream. Or perhaps you can find me on Affinity or any of my other places where I post a whole lot of stuff. I am a very prolific Sharky. You can find out where everything that I do is by going to my link tree. Linktree/IronGut. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.